Instagram says it's having trouble with my live stream. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. Hold on, Facebook. We're going to get them all in here in just a second. Let me try this again on Instagram. Let's see. Checking connection. Nope. Still. Oh, that might be because my phone is on airplane mode. That could be an issue. We're trying to, my phone is always dead, always and forever. And so we were trying to charge it and get a little bit of juice before we got this thing rocking and rolling. So pardon Facebook, but if you've been here before, you know this is always a hot mess. Who knows what's going on? My mom's texting me. It's a great day. Mom, I'm on Facebook. Can you leave me alone? Thank you so much. Okay, let's try this one more time, guys. See if I can get this rocking and rolling. I'm also all alone, so I don't have anybody to help me. What's happening? All right, let's try this one more time on Instagram. You're live now. What's up, Instagram? Facebook, we now have Instagram. Instagram, we had a little trouble bringing y'all in today because I was on airplane mode and didn't even know it. I thought my phone was completely dead. So also trying to pull you guys up on Facebook so I can see comments, because tonight's episode is going to be a ladies edition of Better Together, which is why Wade is not joining me tonight. I am here all by my lonesome, but so excited to spend some time with you guys. So excited to just be in community with other ladies, other mamas, mamas to be, people thinking about being moms, veteran moms, all the moms coming together. I just think there is something powerful when there are a bunch of females coming together. Guys, we can take over the world. It's like, who runs the world? That's right, girls do. So excited that you guys are here, that you are joining me. I would love for you to be interactive in the comments. This episode is going to be a little bit different tonight. Like I told you guys on social media, we are going to be talking all about the journey into mamahood and what that is like. And so I'm kind of nervous about this one because this is still very fresh to me. It's still very raw. It's still something that I'm definitely still going through and experiencing, and gonna be that way forever, as you veteran mamas know. But I would love for you guys to be interactive in the comments. I'm gonna be monitoring things back and forth. And then also I'm so excited because not only are we gonna be talking about my journey into mamahood, but we're gonna be talking with two of my very good friends who helped me so much along this journey, and those two are Cara Carroll and Amelia Capitosto. We're going to bring both of them in tonight and hear their journeys as well. So excited to get this started. Before we do, though, quickly, two quick things. Number one, many of you know that the Get Your Teach On fam launched a huge campaign. April is the month where we are focusing, well, it's every day, but April is where we're drawing attention to preventing child abuse. And so the Get Your Teach On team decided to launch this huge campaign because we're all extremely passionate about it, especially during the time of this pandemic, all the time, but especially during this time as we're seeing cases rise. We have partnered with Prevent Child Abuse America, and we are selling these amazing t-shirts by our girl Sarah from Creative School Days, and 100% of the proceeds go to Prevent Child Abuse America. And we have almost hit this crazy, insane goal that we set for ourselves. Like, it's crazy, y'all. And we're going to announce it next Monday, how many shirts we sold, how much money we raised. We are so excited. So you can still get yours for a few more hours because we only put them on sale for 48 hours at shop.getyourteachon.com. So make sure you grab yours, buy them for your kids' teachers. I don't care, but 100% of the proceeds go to that. And so thank you to all the people who have already been a part of that. And those of you that are going to be a part of it, we're going to have one big day on social media where we all post ourselves in our shirts, and like Instagram is going to be straight rainbow, which is going to be amazing. So that is number one. Number two, you know that I always start with corn memes during this quarantine time of Better Together. And so I figured since it was a special edition of Ladies Night tonight, I picked one super appropriate. I laughed so hard when I saw this one because it is so me. And it is this. It says, since those beauty salons closed, selfies dropped like the stock market. Facts. I feel like, can I go back maybe 4 months ago when my roots did not look like this and find a picture to post on the gram because this is a disaster. So if that's you, let us know. Are you like, what is happening? Nails, hair. By the way, I was getting ready for my lesson on ELA Live this week, and so I was doing some science today. So if you see a little blue in my fingernails, promise that is just all science. So that is all of the kind of announcements / corn meme that we have. And so we are going to hop right in to tonight's episode and just chit chat for a little while about the journey into motherhood and the reality of what that looks like. I want to say this and put a disclaimer out there. I was actually talking to my friend Chris, who just happens to be a guy, as you all know, right before this episode, and I was telling him how nervous I was about this just because, like I already mentioned, it's so new for me still. And he said, Hope, and it stuck with me. And I'm like, first of all, I said, I'm going to steal it from you. But he said, Hope, you're not an expert. You are a human. And so that is what I'm coming to you as, specifically, definitely tonight, all the time, but definitely tonight, not being an expert, just being a human. I am sure as I tell my story, I'm going to say all the wrong things. I might get emotional. I don't know. I'm probably going to say things that are politically incorrect, probably say things that some of you might shake your head at me about. I don't know. But this is literally just my story, my journey. And the reason that I feel so passionately about sharing this and why I've really been wanting to share this for a long time, but I just, I had to kind of get into the mindset of being ready to share this. But I feel like the things that we're going to talk about tonight, the things that I've talked a lot to Kara about and to Amelia about, are things that nobody talks about. And if they do, it's behind closed doors, because the things that we're going to talk about tonight are the very things that as women make us feel as though we are coming off as weak, and we don't want to do that. We're coming off as not being perfect. And as women, that is something that we all have in our minds, is this idea of the perfect woman. That's why we follow fashion bloggers, and we're trying to always look a certain way and be a certain way and keep our bodies a certain way and mom a certain way and parent a certain way and teach a certain way. And all of this idea of perfection is why we don't chat a lot about the realities. And so that is what I want to kind of bring to light tonight, because I know for me, this was something that was by far the hardest thing I've ever faced, being a mama. And I don't even know where to start in this journey. But I hope that through tonight, and again, I would love for y'all to be interactive in the comments. Please do find your people, share your stories too. I hope that through this, we can kind of bring to light what really being a mom is all about. And so I'm just going to start by sharing my story, because I really don't even know where else to begin. And then, like I said, I'm going to bring some guests in and let them share their stories. But hopefully this can speak to at least one person, make you feel like, what, I've got a team of people who have been through this very same thing. Because I think the number one thing that makes becoming a mom, or being a mom in general, it's not just becoming a mom, is feeling alone. Because again, these are the things that a lot of people don't want to talk about, don't want to share, because they're afraid of what others might say about it, how others will judge them. And so tonight, I hope this is a judgment-free zone, because I am just going to be raw, real, share it straightforward. I had a lot of people in my life during this time. They were there to see it. And so I'm just going to kick it off with my journey. So many of you know that almost a year ago, which is crazy, Wade and I had our first child, baby Maverick, and he is about to be a year old. I shared our birth story actually on Better Together a little while back for the Q&A, so I'm not going to get into the birth story. I'm going to start right after the birth story, because that is when my life truly, truly, truly changed forever. You think pregnancy is crazy, and then you all of a sudden have this little human. And so for me, I talked about my birth story. It was slightly traumatic, but when they put Maverick in my arms for the first time, because I didn't get to see him after I had birthed him, he had to go to the nursery, and they stuck him in my arms for the first time. I guess I'm just going to have to start here with the fact that I did not feel an instant motherhood connection. I was thinking that this was going to be this euphoric moment where the angels from heaven were going to sing, and all of a sudden, everything that I needed to know about being a mom was just going to happen. It was just going to take over. All of a sudden, my instincts were going to kick in, and I was going to kill the job. Like, I was going to be the best mom that there ever could possibly be, and that was just going to happen for me. And that's not how it was for me. When they put him in my arms for the first time, first of all, obviously coming off of a lot of different things from labor and delivery, I'm looking down at a child that I don't know how to take care of. I don't know the first thing about what I should do. I don't even know where to start. Like, I know that I have this instant love for him, but that's about all. And Wade, it had been a crazy day. My parents left after I saw him for just a few minutes because nobody had had sleep. It was late at night. And so Wade ran to get me food because I hadn't eaten all day. And I'm in the room, and Daniel's now wife, Sam, was in there with me, and Kirby Betancourt, because she was taking photographs for us all day long. And the nurses come in, they put this baby in my arms. And as soon as Wade walks out the door, they instantly start asking you all of these questions about vaccinations and about all the things that you want for your child. And you're like, can I get a second here? Like, what has actually happened? And so then they proceed to ask me all the questions I can't even remember. It's like I blacked out completely. Can't even remember the questions that they asked me. And then they tell me, oh, and by the way, a lactation specialist will be around in 2 days. And I'm like, I'm sorry, does he just not eat until then? Like, does he just make his own food? Like, what are you talking about? That a lactation specialist will be around in 2 days. And so instantly, I'm talking about from the first second that I held that child, mom guilt set in. I'm looking at this precious, beautiful newborn baby, and I don't even know how to take care of my own child. And so instantly that doubt sets in about I'm not capable. I'm not capable. Why did the Lord even see fit for me to mother this child? Because I don't even know where to start. Sam is over here. She's looking at me like I can just see it on her face. I am never having a kid. Like, I am never doing this after seeing, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know what to do. And I think we're all just like staring at each other in this moment, like, what the heck is happening? And so, anyways, moving on through the hospital, obviously, as all mamas do, we take it a step at a time, and it's just, you start learning as you go. But I will say that the mom guilt, 1000%, never left. Never left from the start of that very first time they put that baby in my arms to the fact that, oh my gosh, I don't know how to care for him. So, long hospital story short, as most of you know, as all of you have done, you literally just start figuring it out. But I do remember specifically texting my mom that night because she had gone back to get some sleep. And she was already asleep when she got the text message. I know she was because she didn't text me back. I was like, oh, Lord, what have I done to my mom? Is she okay? But I sent her a text message that night. And this is kind of what my life became for the next long while. And I told her, I said, I feel like I am in a fire. In a house that's on fire, somebody has broken my legs and I can't get out. And that is how motherhood started for me. And that is why I said, this is going to be 100% raw, 100% real. This is not to make anybody afraid of being a mom, because I will say this before I even get into the stories of motherhood for me and my journey. It is by far 100% the best thing that has ever happened to me. But it just took me some time to get there. So please just know that going in. But I sent my mom that text that night, and that truly became my life. That truly became my life for the next long while. And so we make it through the hospital days. I start learning how to breastfeed. And I even went into this with the mindset because, there's this whole idea of that breast is best, right? Again, something that is not talked about. And if you stop breastfeeding, you don't dare utter a word because of how women, which is so mind-blowing, will judge you. So mind-blowing to me how women can ever judge other women after you've been through this. It does not make any sense to me, because I will tell you one thing, after being through this, I will never judge another woman so long as I shall live. But anyways, start breastfeeding because breast is best, and that's what you're told. I even went into this with the mindset that, okay, I'm going to try this. And if it works for me and I can maintain my mental health and this is what is best for us, that is what we're going to continue. So started breastfeeding, and I don't even know how to put into words how that probably was even more challenging by far than birthing. I could birth, and I had a traumatic labor and delivery. I could birth 100 children back to back to back to back compared to breastfeeding for me. And so breastfeeding just never felt right. It was always difficult. It was always something that I never one time felt that connection. I never one time felt that bond between myself and Maverick with breastfeeding. Yet, because of what we are told, because of what's ingrained in our brain, I start putting the pressure on myself. No, to be the perfect mom, to be the best parent, which is all I wanted. All I wanted was to be the best parent for Maverick. I've got to breastfeed him. And so I said, okay. And I will put this out there that nobody is telling you these things except for yourself and what others have said to you in the past, or what you see on social media, or what you see on wherever it is that we're looking for parent advice. And so continue to try to breastfeed him. And that's when I think that this whole thing really started for me. Every time I would breastfeed, I would cry. And it wasn't because of pain. It was because I didn't know how I was going to do that another time. I didn't know if I had it in me to breastfeed another time. And so I've shared a little bit of this on my stories, but when we brought Maverick home, my supply wasn't even sufficient enough, but they didn't tell me to have formula on hand because it's almost like, formula, no formula. I didn't have formula on hand. Essentially, Maverick was starving. He was screaming the first night that we were home 24/7. And again, the mom guilt. I'm not capable of doing this. Here I am trying to recover from this huge labor and delivery, and the guilt is so insane that I could barely even hold myself up. I literally remember face planting in my bed and screaming into the mattress because I had no idea what else to do. So I'm calling around that night and I'm trying to get advice on what to do because I'm trying to breastfeed my child because that's what I'm told is best. And my hospital tells me, oh, we've already discharged you. So no, we can't help you. I'm calling all the places to try to get advice. I finally called Children's Hospital, and God bless the nurse because she said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and get formula. I want you to put it in a spoon, and I want you to spoon feed him. And when we did that, everything changed. But I only allowed that to happen for one night because what had been ingrained in my brain forever. Oh no, if you breastfeed, he's not going to be as sick as he gets older. If you breastfeed, it's so much better for their brain. It's so much better for their development. Well, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing what is best for my son. Then if I have to do whatever I have to do, if it kills me, that's what I'm going to do. And so continue to breastfeed. And for the first 6 weeks of life with Maverick, aside from not sleeping, because he was not a sleeper and he did not sleep well for us at all for the longest time, until 9 months practically. But for the first 6 weeks of life, it was a steady decline. Every single day is getting darker and darker and darker to the point where I don't even want to get out of bed in the morning. I don't even know, like the thought that I have to get up, stick 2 feet on the ground and care for a human was so beyond what I even thought I was capable of that I didn't even know how I could do it. And of course, my faith is so strong and I'm praying, I'm crying. I'm like, God, please, you've given me this child. I know that you've given him to me for a reason. I know that you're going to give me the things that I need. But at that time, I felt like I was completely 100% alone. And so it got darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. And finally, one day, Wade looked at me and said, you are done. You are done. And I kept saying, no, I'm going to make it 7 weeks. No, I'm going to make it 8 weeks. And he said, you are done. And that day I stopped breastfeeding. And that day things started to change just a little bit for me. And so the first thing that I just want to squash instantly, especially for new moms and old mom and veteran moms, I don't call you old moms, but veteran moms in the comments, you can let them know too. If you are a new mama, fed is best. 1,000 trillion billion %, you take the pressure off of yourself right now, instantly. If you are in the middle of this journey and you are still thinking that you need to breastfeed, but it is not working for you, you take it off yourself if that is what you want to do. If you want to breastfeed, amazing. Like if it works for you. And that's what I don't understand about this. So after 4 weeks after having Maverick, our national conference for 4,000 people was coming up in June, which prior to having Maverick, I 100% said, oh, he is going to go to the conference. He is just going to be a flexible baby. I know that the Lord knows what Wade and I have been called to do, and he is going to make this child the most flexible human being. And oh my goodness, I've seen the Pampers commercials. Babies just lay on a blanket. They just coo and ooh. They are the sweetest things, and that's what he's going to do. We're going to put a blanket in the conference room, and we're just going to lay him on that blanket, and everybody's going to walk by and say he's the most precious, well-behaved child in the room. I truly, 100% thought all of that was going to be a reality. Then you have a baby. And in my circumstance, I had a baby who did not lay on a blanket for even 2 seconds. I had a baby who, guess what? Cried. Did y'all know that babies cried? Because I did not. I did not know that babies like cry for a long time, like sometimes all day cry, right? I thought that maybe a couple minutes here and there, but as long as you change them and feed them and you smile and you stimulate them, you're good to go. Let's just say that our life was completely the opposite. that Maverick required 24/7 attention, 24/7 care. He was rarely content. He had colic. He was allergic to cow's milk when we switched formula. He had gas in his belly all the time. He would cry for 2 and 3 hours straight at night. And here I am as a mom. Again, here comes the guilt. Because now I'm putting pressure on myself in May saying, oh my gosh, we've got to, first of all, plan this conference. And second of all, this baby's got to be ready to travel to get your teach on because this is our life. So in June, he's got to be ready to travel to get your teach on. And so here I am trying to make Maverick at such a young age fit this mold to make me look like the perfect mom out there, right? And so as I'm starting to put this pressure on myself that Maverick has to be ready to travel to nationals, nationals has to be an incredible conference because so many teachers are coming and they need ideas and strategies for their classroom, here comes the pressure. So now not only am I adjusting to this whole new life, but I'm just stacking, it's like brick after brick after brick after brick of all of the ideas of perfection that I need to have when I'm a mom. And so all of that really started to weigh extremely heavy on me. And that's when things became super dark for me on my road to becoming this new mom. And I feared postpartum depression. I wouldn't even say the word. My mom would sometimes say, Hope, do you need to go see a doctor? And I would say, nope, what do you mean see a doctor? I am perfectly fine. Chris would say, Hope, don't you think? Amy and Jared would say, Hope, there's nothing wrong with seeing a doctor. No, I don't need a doctor. What do you mean? I'm tired. And the thing about postpartum depression is you don't even realize that you have it until it's already happened. And I mean a long time until it's already happened. And so in my mind, I was fine, yet I was crying 24/7. I was going into dark rooms and burying my head in between my legs just to even get a breath. I literally couldn't breathe at times. Like I said, did not want to get out of bed. I did not want to plan a national conference. I didn't care if Get Your Teach On imploded and I never saw anything Get Your Teach On related ever again. And as we come closer to June, Wade and I make the decision to not take Maverick to nationals. Once again, mom guilt. Now, what are people going to think about me when I am leaving my very new son to travel to a conference to present to help teachers? More mom guilt, more mom guilt, more mom guilt. And I specifically remember being at my parents' house when we were just about 2 weeks out from the conference, and I was packing a suitcase of costumes because y'all know I love a good costume. And when I present, sometimes from time to time, I might dress like a potato head or something crazy. And so I'm packing my costumes and I look at Chris and I'm bawling. And I tell him that I do not even want to go. I do not even want to go to nationals. I don't even care if it happens. I don't even know how it's going to happen. I don't want to be there. And my family continues to encourage me through this. And we arrive to the time of nationals. And I think this is the part that I really just kind of want to put emphasis on because every mom can put on a brave face. Every mom does it best. Moms do it better than anybody in this world. They put on a brave face. But what people don't realize is what's happening behind that brave face. I even have some pictures if you're on Facebook. If you're not, you can go to Facebook later and check them out, or you can just listen to the story. But I have a picture of Wade and I leaving for the national conference. And we are on this picture, and we are smiling, and Maverick is dressed as a potato head, and Wade's smiling, and we're tan because it's summertime. I don't know how we were tan because we were inside all the time trying to raise this baby, but we were tan. And I look at this picture, and that's what people see on Instagram. And they think, oh my gosh, the Kings. And I even said, the Kings are on their way to, where are we going? Texas. The Kings are on their way to Texas. I had so many likes, so many engagements. People couldn't wait. People saying how cute Maverick was. And I'm sure that it never even crossed their mind what was really going on behind that picture. Because if you could see what was going on behind that picture, what you would have seen is two parents with so much guilt for leaving their child with their parent, even though my mom and dad were there to take the best care of him, but so much guilt. On the way to the airport, Wade and I get in a huge, huge fight because I think we were finally out of having to care for Maverick, and everything that had weighed on us for so long just all came to a head. we're sitting in the airport, and I'm so sorry if this like ruins the magic of Get Your Teach On Nationals, but I told y'all that this was going to be real and raw, and this is what it was. We're sitting in the airport. We have people on our flight going to the national conference, and Wade and I are in the airport crying, both of us crying. I even have a couple more pictures on Facebook that Chase is going to put up, and it's kind of an Instagram versus reality, where at the national conference, all of these pictures of Wade and I, smiling. I had some real good filters on those suckers, because let me tell you, the blacks, I don't even know how much makeup I had caked right here. It was probably like painted on because the black circles were so crazy. But Wade and I in the airport crying, we get on this plane. And to be 100% truthful with you, and again, I hope this doesn't ruin anything for Get Your Teach On folks, but I don't remember another thing that happened. I don't remember another thing that happened except for the conference did happen. I think it was good. I think some teachers got some ideas and strategies, but I have no idea what happened at that conference. On the way there, Wade even told me that he was extremely depressed. And he would even share this with you, and I think it would be a powerful story for him to share later on, that he was even borderline potentially suicidal, that he didn't even know if he wanted to go on another day. And here I am now as a mother leaving her son. My husband is feeling this way, so I can't even protect him. And this national conference is happening. So we made it through nationals, and I was on autopilot. I don't even know what I said. I don't know what I did. I don't know if it was inspirational. I don't know if anybody got anything from me, learned anything from me. All I know is that at the conference, I went and did my sessions. I couldn't even talk to my friends. I couldn't talk to other presenters. I don't even know if you would have like had a conversation with me, if I could even communicate in complete sentences. But I went, and I knew that the Lord would carry me through that, because he had called me to be there, and he had called me to help make a difference in the lives of so many teachers. And fortunately, we have this phenomenal Get Your Teach On team that picked up the slack, picked up the weight, and they did the thing, y'all. But I didn't. And Wade didn't. And we even had Jared and Amy coming to our room at night for counseling sessions. And This is motherhood. This is what it is. It's a constant. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, what a fraud I am, because here I am going to encourage teachers to be the best that they can be, and I can't even be a mom. And so that was nationals for us. Somehow we made it through. Somehow we got back to Maverick, but unfortunately the postpartum depression definitely did not end there. It just increased. And it got darker and darker and darker every single day. And there were many times that I would look at my son when he was crying and wonder if we were ever even going to have a relationship, wonder if we were ever even going to like each other, wondering if I even had love deep enough for this child. And those are the very real thoughts that run through your head when people tell you, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You will love him instantly. And I think that there is truth to that. But if you don't feel it right away, it's okay. And if you don't feel it all the time, it's okay. And that's real. And so I finally figured out that I was really struggling and that this was not normal and that this was not okay. And that's when I started really reaching out to friends, because I would post on social media the struggles that I was having, and instantly people would respond. And I'm not talking about one person. I'm talking about lots of people. They would respond to me. I probably look like a mess, y'all. But they would say, how dare you even talk about your son crying? Or, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're complaining. Or, oh my word, what? You have a beautiful son to be grateful for. And so I started recognizing that this was the problem with motherhood, is that so many women hush the reality of what is instead of being able to talk freely. And that right there puts enough pressure on a woman to almost realize that she cannot survive it. And so after receiving all of those messages, I thought to myself, oh, I should just feel blessed. I should just feel blessed. But now that I'm getting on the other side of this, I'm recognizing that you can 100% be blessed and still be depressed. That those two things, do not have to go together. They can go together. They do not have to be separated. Because I don't care how blessed you are with money, how blessed you are with fame, fortune, whatever it may be, you are never exempt from feeling real, raw emotions. And so that's what I started recognizing, and I started, really searching for other women who felt the same way. The crazy part is I didn't find it. Every mother that I saw on Instagram had pictures of their baby laughing and smiling. And oh my goodness, I love my baby so much. And my baby slept through the night. And my baby can count to 100 and they're 2 months old. And my baby can do this. And look how cute my baby. And I never found it. And I started questioning how many of those women are putting on a brave face, but behind the Instagram picture, they're literally being destroyed every single day. And so I recognized that really what was happening for me is that I was mourning my old life. I wanted to go back to my old life. You have no idea how much. But again, what does that do? Mom guilt. Because here I am mourning my old life, yet I have this beautiful baby. And again, both of those things can happen, and it is okay. I don't understand why it has to be one or the other. Why can't you mourn your old life and still be incredibly blessed and recognize the gift that you have in your child? And so that is when I recognized that this was not okay, that the pressures that mothers are under is not okay, and that it is insane that it is not talked about. It is insane that we are not getting on Instagram and saying, I had a heck of a day. I hate being a mom right now. I don't enjoy it. This is not what I signed up for. I want out. And while we don't have 1,000 moms on our back saying, that's right, absolutely, you feel that way. It's okay to feel that way today. That is normal. Why are women not reaching out to other women and saying, you are normal? That is exactly how I felt. You've got this, mama. No, it's hard right now. You want to run away, but it's going to be okay. You're going to make it through because I was there. I was there in that dark place, and I made it through, and you're going to too. Why are women not stepping up and doing this for other moms? And that's why I wanted to have this conversation tonight, and that's why I wanted to bring on these next two women to share their journeys too, because I would have never thought in a million years that Kara Carroll struggled with anything. I would have never thought in a million years that Amelia Capitosta would struggle with anything. They're like, I look up to them so much. But when I started talking to them, I realized that every mama struggles. And so I hope after this, at least the people who are watching, at least the people who are on Facebook, who are on Instagram, that we can make a community and we can start searching for this. We can start searching for mamas who are feeling this way and reach out and say, you've got this, you're going to make it, because that can save a life. Just that right there can save a life. And so that is kind of my story. I do want to say, just to kind of wrap up my journey, that because of incredible people, because of an incredible family and a support system and my faith and working through this and recognizing that I had a problem and recognizing the pressures that I was putting on myself that did not need to be there, and recognizing, I'm going to tell you what changed it all for me. What changed it all for me is recognizing that this was normal. Because I thought I was 1 in a million that had postpartum depression. But I think that those numbers need to be flip-flopped, because I think more mamas than not go through this, and all I needed was to be told that I was normal. And so obviously things are improving, and I love Maverick more than anything in the world, but it has taken me time to get to this place. And so if you are a new mama, please know that yes, it does get better. I did not want to hear that as a new mama, because I was like, but when? I need a date. Like, I need a date to mark in my calendar to know when it's going to get better. But it will get better, and you will make it, And most importantly, everything that you are feeling right now is valid and it is normal and it is okay. So I want to bring on my first friend, Kara Carroll. And I've got to find her. I forgot. I've got to find her on Instagram. Kara, okay, Kara's on Facebook. Hey, Kara. Can we hear?
She can't hear you.
Oh, she can't hear me yet? Okay, shoot. Kara, I'm getting you. Hold on. Let me see if I can find her.
Okay.
Uh-oh, Chase, it's not even let me touch the thing. Oh, well, there's our back wall, guys. Hold on, Kara. I'm coming to you. There we go. Okay. Sorry, Facebook. Y'all get to see the beautiful Kara Carroll. There she is. Okay, I see her. Waiting for just Kara Carroll to come on. Let's see if it's working. Okay, I think I hear.
Oh, is that?
Yay! We can hear you.
Yay! Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. Is my mascara running? Because I'm like crying.
Oh my gosh.
Listening to your story because it's so familiar. Like it's.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here just to share your story, because I don't know if I'm sure you remember me texting you and saying, I'm waving the white flag. I'm waving the white flag. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you realized how much you just telling me your story and how normal I actually was helped in my healing process with this. And so, because I would have never expected that from you, because again, in our minds, every mama is perfect except for us, right? And so,
oh my gosh,
that's just why I wanted to bring you on. I just want you to share a little bit of your journey that you kind of shared with me, because I know it's going to impact all of these mamas the same way that it did for me.
You were so good to reach out, because I wish so badly that when I was going through my struggle that I had somebody to reach out to also, because I did not have that. So mine was just a little bit different than yours, but very similar. Like your story literally makes me want to, I was back here crying. Like it's so 11 years later, can I still be suffering like 11 years later?
Yeah.
Because I'm serious, it like totally brings it back for me. But for me, when Grant, so it was my second, I did not experience this with my first. And when Grant was born, I did have a good connection with him, I think. But I was immediately, I remember coming home and being really resentful of him, which is terrible to say. But just, I was kind of angry, like, I don't want to have to feed you right now. I'm trying to be a mom to my first. I'm trying to be a wife. I'm overwhelmed. The birth was super easy. All that was great. But it was just like this incredible, like super emotional. I was just in my head, sad. And I did not breastfeed. And I'm not even ashamed to tell people. At the time I didn't want to, and I never even tried. I mean, first couple nights, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and try. And then after that, I was like, no more, mama's not happening. I hated it with every fiber of my being. I would cringe and be like, this is awful. So, but all that to be said, it was like, I remember I had to go back to work at 4 weeks after I had Grant. And so it was awful. So my thing was, okay, I've got to go back to work at 4 weeks. It was like and it was the last 3 weeks of school that I had to be there. So I was like, and that's like the worst, because there's so many things to do at the end of the year. And my biggest thing was, I cannot go back to work unless my 4-week-old baby is sleeping through the night. Okay. I can't do it. There's no way. So what did I do a week before I had to go back to work? This is terrible. Judge away, because I can't believe I even did this.
No judgment here.
I remember we totally believed in the cried out method. So I just never, I never listened to any of the, or read any of the books about it, so I didn't know that you were supposed to like, let him cry and pat his back, let him cry and pat his back. I let him cry for like 4 hours straight that first night, just bawling. I put my headphones on. I laid on the floor in his room. And I just let him cry. And I didn't know. I was like, why won't he just sleep? He's 4 weeks old. What did I think was going to happen? So that's just kind of how I think that's when that postpartum bit started for me at that 4-week point. I was already feeling really sad and whatnot, but that's when it got really bad. Hold on really quick. I heard like a echo. Okay. Anyway, so then it got to where I was just feeling really sad after that. And I was overwhelmed, and I was at work, and I would come home and I would pick up the kids, and my husband, Adam, he worked 45 minutes away from home, and he was always gone. And I was so resentful of him, because why isn't his life changing the way my life is changing? I'm sorry. Let me be real for a second. I'm fat. I'm gross. I'm disgusting. I hate my body. I hate to look at myself in the mirror. I feel gross. I'm very mad at my kids right now because, and so I'm having all these feelings and all the emotions, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I don't even know what's wrong with me. And I remember specifically when it got kind of like to its height, I remember waking up one morning to get Grant out of his bed, and he was bawling his eyes out crying, and I was angry. And I was like, let me say this. I never wanted to hurt my child. Those thoughts were never in my mind. I never wanted to hurt myself. Those thoughts were never in my mind. But I remember specifically this one morning going into his room to get him. I picked him up and I brought him downstairs, and I let him sit in his rocker or his little bouncer. I let him cry. I didn't feel like feeding him. And I laid there and I bawled my eyes out, and I just thought to myself, if I could get in the car and drive and go somewhere, I just want to go. I don't care where it is. I just want to leave, and maybe I just don't want to come back. But I didn't want to be without my family. I just didn't want to come back to that. But it was not just to even him. It was just to everything. It was just to life in general. I just felt like I couldn't do it. I was so overwhelmed, and I didn't really have anybody I could talk to about it, and I was embarrassed. I was like, wait, everybody knows me as Happy Kara. I'm always in a good mood. I'm positive. I'm doing the thing. And like, wait, I can't be sad. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not being grateful. So like you, mom guilt. And I'm like, all right, I'm having all this guilt. This is ridiculous. I shouldn't feel like this. I should be so blessed. I can't even believe I have kids. I struggled to have my first, and now I've got 2 beautiful, healthy kids. How could I not be anything but grateful? And these emotions, and they started to build. And I remember talking to, I can't remember exactly who it was. It was a girlfriend of mine. And I was like, hey, I think I might have postpartum depression. And I remember her saying to me, it might've been somebody I taught with at the time. She was like, no, you don't. No, you are always so happy. You're never upset. I've never seen you cry. I've never seen you sad. But it wasn't like I went to school and let it all out. I was really good at bottling things up. I was really good at waiting till I got home, crying in the shower, crying when I, rock him to sleep at night, or whatever, locking myself in the pantry and eating and crying at the same time. I was like all the things, right? So I remember thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm not depressed. Well, then I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? Oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong. And then I remember telling my husband, and I was already so mad at him at the time. And it's just mad at him for no reason. And I was just mad. Like, dang it. You didn't even birth a child. Well, I'm so mad at you. And so I remember telling him, and him being like, no, I don't think you are. And it wasn't that he wasn't supportive. He was not that at all. It was just that I don't even think he understood what that meant. I think like back 11 years ago, it wasn't even talked about hardly like it's talked about now. Right. And I think the perception of postpartum depression back then was more of that postpartum psychosis piece, where if you've got that postpartum depression, well, that must mean that you want to hurt yourself. You want to hurt your kids. Right. That's kind of how, I think we looked at it. So I don't really think he even understood like that it was, you know what I mean? Because I think had he known from the beginning, he would have been like, oh my gosh, what can I do for you? And so anyway, it was like a 6-month mark. I remember just being like, I I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And that's when my husband was like, I really think something. And my mom finally too, she lived hours away, like 4 hours away. And so we weren't seeing each other all the time. And so she didn't really know the extent, I don't think. But finally I got to the point where they were both like, you need to get help. Like you need to go see a doctor. And it wasn't that I didn't want to go see a doctor. It wasn't that I didn't want meds, because I was all about it. I was like, give me something to make me feel normal again. I would give anything to feel happy, Kara, you know, because I could put on a really good show. It just, I was not really feeling that in my heart. And I remember when I finally decided to go, because they had to really talk me into it. It wasn't that I had too much pride. It was just that I kept thinking, well, this is kind of stupid. Like, what if I go and she's like, no, you're not? Or like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Well, then I'm going to feel stupid. Well, and then what if I go and then, well, like, that's just, I was also thinking like money wise at the time, like, well, I don't want to waste my money on something if it's not really real. Okay, no, I can get through this. I can get through this. I just need to have happy thoughts, be positive, you know, and it just was not going away. So when I finally made that appointment and I just remember sitting in the doctor's office and just like, whoosh. I'm like, I am so sad all the time. And I just bawled my eyes out. And she was like, but it's okay. That's normal. You're not alone. And I'm like, oh, are you sure? Because I don't know anybody talking about this. I feel like I'm the only one. So I didn't get on medication. She actually was like, you know, I feel like what you're telling me, you're kind of like at the very end, like you're kind of like towards the end of this particular part of your journey. She said, what I want you to do is I want you to take time for you. She's like, what does your schedule look like? I'm like, kids and my husband. And then after that, I go to bed and I cry. That's it. She's like, I want you to carve out at least 30 minutes for yourself every day. And if you can exercise, I want you to exercise. Try that. She's like, but if you tell me you want medication, I will give it to you right now. But I want you to try this first and see how it helps. If after a week you're not feeling it, you come back right in here and I've got whatever you want, you know. And I started demanding time for myself. Like, nope, I'm taking this time for myself. I felt guilty. I felt kind of bad, but at the same time, I was so resentful that I was almost like, I'm getting time for myself, you know? And I did. And I started taking time for me and just to let myself think all the things and cry all the tears and have angry thoughts about my husband to myself. And I would have like, you know, totally. I would have like those in my head arguments where I was winning. So I kind of like was starting to feel better about myself. I'm like, oh, God, yes, I feel so much better. I just fought with him and he didn't even know it. This is so great. And I'm winning the argument every time. This is awesome. But after I started getting that time for myself and having those mental arguments with him and starting to kind of like speak up for myself too, and then starting to give him more of the responsibilities also, that took such a load off. And Grant was colicky for the first 6 months, and that was a nightmare. And we just, as moms, no offense to dads, we just deal with those things. It's almost like we feel like that is our duty, that is our calling, and it's like the pass off, right? Like, here, you deal. And that's, I think, where it kind of all stemmed from. Yeah. That was the hardest time in my life. And I mean, like, it still makes me 11 years later emotional talking about it, because it makes me feel so guilty. Like, I never didn't love him. I never didn't want
you still have that feeling, you know, almost of some guilt, because I was actually sitting in a basement playing with Maverick right before this episode, and I was looking at him thinking, how did I feel guilty right now thinking those thoughts that I had back then. But, you know, that's just real. That's just reality. And I love, you know, what you said about going and seeing someone. And I think that, you know, when you said, it's crazy to me that your turning point was when somebody told you were normal. It is amazing. Yes. The pressure that like when you and Amelia said, Hope, this exact same thing happened to me. The pressure that literally pulled off of me instantly was just crazy. Crazy.
Yes. Like a sigh of relief, like, okay, wait, I'm not, so you mean that these thoughts are okay? Like, right. You're not judging me. You don't think I'm a bad mom? Like, cause like my first thought is I'm a bad mom. I'm not fit to, like, why do I have this child that I'm not fit for this? You know, what am I doing? And so just hearing her say, that's normal. Thank you, Jesus. That's all I needed somebody to say. Anybody could have said it, and I would have been like on the road to healing, you know?
Yeah. Which is why I'm like, I really just want this to be talked about so much more, because I think if women knew this going into motherhood, like, it's still going to be freaking hard. Like, the hardest thing, there is nothing that's going to take that away. But I think the pressure of being the perfect mom, that's what pushes so many women into postpartum depression. And I think that it's probably gotten worse since social media has happened, because then we have this bigger idea of what a perfect mom. Oh, I have got to have that. Did you see those Instagram moms after they just have the baby and they're like fit and they're all, that's what I've got to look like, and I've got to be that, and I've got to do that. And nothing against them. They look incredible and good for them, and that's amazing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Great genes and good for you, sister. I wish that were me too. But it's just not the reality for the normal human, I don't think. I also love what you said about exercise, because I think when I saw a turning point was after you and Amelia. One told me I was normal, but so I hope that some women can hear that tonight, and that can be a turning point for them. But number two, I started training for the New York Marathon, and I'm not saying to go out and run a marathon after you have a kid. Bad idea. But I was forced to, and I think that was a God thing, because I was forced to get out and exercise.
Yeah.
And like you, that changed so much for me. I do want to ask you one more question before we go.
Sure.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing that, because
well,
I think
that so many
people just resonate with that. I saw so many people in the comments, they were like living the same life as you, the same story, and so much of what you said, I mean, it's just like you said, I mean, so many women were on different paths, but we're living the same lives almost when it comes to this. How did you, because I know this was a big challenge for me, and I do want to say this before we get into this question, Instagram only gives us an hour. I knew this episode was going to be long tonight, because it is a whole mood, this postpartum depression discussion. So if this cuts out, go to Facebook and finish watching the episode, because Amelia has an amazing story too. You don't want to miss it. But the final question, Kara, is how did you mesh your old life, who you were, because this is before you had before you had Landon. How did you mesh your old life of Kara Carroll and the amazing things that you were doing, and you and your husband together, and it just being the two of you, with being a mom and finding who you were, finding your new, because I feel like you almost find a new identity. Did you just give up your old life completely, or how did you make that happen?
Girl, I still feel like I'm trying to figure out who the old Kara Carroll is, but I don't really remember her very well. But I will say this. I do feel like I wanted some of her freedom back really badly, like the ability to sleep in the morning and whatever. But I didn't want all of her back, because now this, I'm gonna get sentimental again, because all that to be said, I love being a mom. I mean, there's no greater joy in this world than there is literally no greater joy than being a mom. So I missed pieces like selfish things. I miss selfish things. I still miss those selfish things. But somehow after the fog of, the first couple of years of motherhood kind of lifted, because it was a while, girl. I had no sense of self those first few years. And I was just lost to to motherhood. But once the fog kind of lifted, then I just felt like, at that moment, I just felt like God was calling me to something so much greater than myself. It's an act of selflessness to be a mom. I have to die to self to take care of these humans. And I felt that calling so strongly, just to set aside those selfish desires for a while, because I knew that was not always going to be my immediate reality. And so when the fog finally did lift, I felt like, they were gaining a little bit more independence, and I could finally start to figure out who I was back then, but like a better version, like maybe a 2.0 version, because there was so many things that I love about the old Kara, but that I'm so glad I don't have in my life right now. So there's beauty in leaving things behind, because I do feel like there are far better things ahead than what we leave behind, if we're just willing to let ourselves lead into that. So that was a lot of resentment getting there, for sure. Sometimes I still have it, you know, but a lot of emotions getting to that point. But I will say this, I don't miss her a ton. I feel like parts of her are still with me, happy, bubbly, fun, whatever. But it's like a 2.0 version now.
Yeah.
I'm not as selfish as I used to be, and I guess that's a good thing. So.
Oh, same. And I think, that's such an important point. And I love that you said, I'm still trying to figure out, who I am and who the old Carol was. And so I think for new moms, and something that I have learned through this first year is don't try to figure it out the first year. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Again, you have so many pressures coming from, like you said, just the mere act of being selfless and giving, sacrificing your whole self for another human. I think that first year is just, almost, I hate to say it, but survive. And don't put the pressure of having to figure out this new identity, because that's going to be something you're going to figure out every single year as your kids grow and change. And,
Yes. And you will change. The person you are will change with each different phase that your kid goes through as well. Like parenting preteens, I'm a different person right now than I was. I was like, oh my gosh. So you change, and it's a good thing though, because, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, you are amazing. You have always been such an inspiration to me as a mom, and I cannot tell you what the difference that you made in me the day that you told me that it was normal and that I was going to make it through. And truly, it saved so much of the emotional trauma that I was going through and made me realize that I had people out there just like me, and that made the biggest difference in my life. So thank you for being willing to share and not put on this idea of perfectionism, and just being real and being who you are, which is what I've always loved about you. And so thank you for being willing to come on and share tonight. I know it's not always fun to revisit all of those old emotions, but I think it shows how much we've grown. And I think it's a testament to new mamas out there like me, seeing that, okay, I'm going to get there. I got to hang on for this wild ride, and it's going to get even more wild, like you said, as they become teenagers and middle schoolers.
Yes.
But we're going to make it through. And I think that, it's incredible that we have a community that we can be together and do that together.
For sure.
So thank you. And unfortunately,
Instagram
cuts us off after an hour. So now we've all got to go to Facebook to continue this. But you're amazing. Love you, friend.
Love you, friend. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Bye, friend.
Bye. Okay. So Instagram, it is going to cut us off because that's what it does after an hour. Complain to Instagram. I'm so sorry. If you don't have Facebook, you can watch this on hopeandwakeking.com/live. And you can finish the episode with Amelia, and you do not want to miss her story. So before she even gets on here, because it's just going to cut her off in 1 minute, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of Instagram. Thank you for joining us for this tonight. I've seen you guys in the comments. I think this is one of the most powerful conversations that I've been a part of. And so thank you for being real, raw, and honest in the comments. Head over to Facebook and you can watch this. It'll be on there forever, but you can also watch the end of the episode. So I'm going to sign out of Instagram. All right. Bye, you guys, on here. All right. And then Chase, we should still be good with Facebook, right? As is. Awesome. Okay. So, Carol, amazing, has always been such an inspiration to me, and her story just resonated so heavily with me in my time. So I wanted her to share, but I want to bring on one of my good friends, Amelia. And, hi, Amelia.
Hi.
And she just
I'm always trying
to bed. She's got 3, which makes her a superhero in my book. But I say this all the time when I talk about things on Instagram and social media and to people that I talk to. But I say that everybody needs a Kara in their life, and everybody needs an Amelia in their life. And I want you to share your journey. But I just wanted to say thank you, because what you did for me, like Kara, Amelia literally would text me every single day. And I think that sometimes I would not even text her back because I didn't even have the energy to tell her that I was doing awful. But that right there, I cannot even tell you how many days you carried me through this journey just by your simple text messages. And so, first of all, thank you for that. But I do want you to share your journey, because you are now on baby number 3. So you've done this a couple of times. But I just want to hear from you and hear your kind of journey into motherhood.
Yeah. So first of all, I just have to say, hearing you say that about the texting thing, I feel like you almost, at some points you feel like, okay, I'm probably going to be annoying after a while, but I'm going to keep texting her because I know that I needed that when I was going through it. So that's something to kind of pull back from this when we're all listening to this and hearing this, that sometimes you might feel like you're bothering that person, but they need that. And they might not even respond because they don't have the energy. And I felt that way. I totally feel you on that one. But just those text messages helped me get through when I was looking back now, it really began in the labor and delivery of it all. His labor and delivery was traumatic at best, probably to say. And it caused a whole, I think, dominoes of emotions for me, starting with that labor. And I don't think even at the time I even wanted to admit it because, you know, like Hope and like Kara have been saying, we have this whole thing persona as a mom that we have to be tough and we can't complain and we have to have this high pain tolerance. And all these moms around me, you know, are going through labor and delivery. You know, they're doing it without an epidural. They're doing it, you know, completely in their homes in a bathtub. They're having a baby in their bed. And I mean, all these things that I'm thinking, my experience was nothing like that. And I didn't want to share it because I felt like this is nothing like what I've been seeing everywhere. You know, I just was so traumatized, I think, by the whole thing. And because I was so physically still in pain and recovering for so long, it really affected my emotional state. And I really struggled because I can remember going home from the hospital and I remember, you know, we're at the hospital on the second day and my husband at this point, you know, he's itching to go home because he's sleeping on the couch on the side, you know, of course he's complaining and I'm thinking, I want to smack you because your couch is so much more comfortable than my entire body feels right now, right? Like I don't even want to hear the couch complain. And so at that point, I remember thinking that, and he wanted to go home. And I remember looking at him and being like, how am I going to go home? I can't even like stand up. I can't even go pee by myself right now. And you want me to go home and take care of myself and another child? Like, what? This is crazy. So I can remember that journey home just sobbing and my husband being like, are you thinking I was crying because I was happy? I don't think he had any idea what emotions I was feeling, but it was more just tears of being overwhelmed. And because I didn't know how I'd care for myself and this child in the back. And those first couple of weeks of just recovery for myself, he had to go back to work right away. And I still felt terrible. And I can remember so many days lying there, and Dean was colic for the first 4 months of his life. We went through a lot of colic times. It was horrible. And him just screaming for hours on end and me just being like, I don't feel good. How am I supposed to help you? I've tried everything, and just being so overwhelmed with all of it. And we go back to that resentment thing too. You know, I know you said that. I know Kara said that. Joe would get to go off to work every day and have a reprieve from all the crying and a reprieve from everything else. And I didn't have that. And he would come home and he didn't understand why. I mean, I would be so frustrated with him at the littlest things. And it wasn't his fault, you know, looking back, he had no idea because I didn't know how to communicate it. But he'd say something like, you know, I'm going to go up and change as soon as he got home. And I'd want to throw something at him. Because I'd be like, I want to change. I haven't changed all day. I'm still wearing my spit up covered clothes and I, you know, look like a mess. I have nothing on. I want to go change before you go change. That's your second outfit of the day, which sounds so ridiculous looking back at it. Because I probably could have just said to him, hey, can I go change first? But we don't think that way in the moment. Our emotions take over. And so those first couple months were just so raw because I felt like physically I was so torn apart. And then emotionally I was so torn apart. And then the strongest person in my life, which was my husband, didn't know how to support me. And I didn't know how to communicate with him to tell him how to support me. And I can still remember like 4 months in, almost exactly. And I remember him coming one day, I was feeding Dean, and I just remember screaming and sobbing and screaming and sobbing and screaming. And I can remember just telling him like, I was so overwhelmed because I felt like no matter what I tried to communicate, I couldn't get out what I was trying to say. And he didn't understand what I was going through and he couldn't relate to it. And I just had so much built up resentment. And obviously it was a long argument, but I'll never forget next night, I was putting Dean to bed and feeding him. And I woke up in the middle of the night to feed him. And on our little table in the nursery was a bottle of water and a granola bar. And that bottle of water and granola bar probably changed how I felt towards my husband in that moment and in the future, because it was like he was thinking about me in the middle of the night. He put a bottle of water and a granola bar for me, which that sounds so silly, but that simple act was a game changer. And it allowed me to open up and tell him more of what I needed. And little things like that were huge. And then two, I had to learn that I just had to tell him explicitly what I needed him to say. And we talked about the text messages. I would tell my husband, you need to text me and tell me, go take a shower. you're okay. He can cry for 10 minutes while you shower. Or, he at that point, I remember 4 months in, I had not even left the house to get my nails done, hair done, you name it. I felt mom guilt. Like, I can't go get my hair done. My baby's going to cry for 3 hours while I'm gone. How horrible a mom am I to want to go get my hair done and let my child cry? And I can remember him finally being like, just go. And we literally had an entire conversation where I said, every 5 minutes, you need to text me and say, it's okay. Great, it's okay. And we almost had to come up with like these phrases that he had to feed me to get me through it. Like, keep texting me every 10 minutes. It's okay. This is going on. You're doing great. He's doing great. He needs this time. Like, I need to hear these things or I can't get through it. And it's a journey, to say the least. I think I didn't even realize in the moment that I was going through it. And I have a really good friend. And like you guys have said, it takes someone to say it to you. I teach across the hall from one of my closest friends. And she had just been through her first about a year before that. And she was the one who came in my classroom like a week before I was due and said, hey, this is what's going to happen to you. She told me all the rundown of the after that no one wants to tell you to prepare me. And I was so thankful for that. But she came over to me and kind of just, I had been kind of open with her a little bit more about how I was feeling, because we usually, put a brave face on. And I really kind of exploded about how I'd been resenting my husband and how I had been not feeling a connection with Dean because of all this. And she was like, I really think that this is normal and it's okay. And I don't want to tell you it's half. I just want to tell you that it's okay to feel this way. And I'm here if you want to talk about it. And that was huge for me in that moment.
Yeah. I love what you said, because earlier when Kara was talking, she explained, how she kind of coped and kind of worked through this. And for her, it was exercise, and it was for her somebody telling her that it was normal and it was okay. And so I think a lot of women need that. But what we don't realize is that even though it's like one more thing for us, we have to almost ask for that sometimes. And I don't even mean ask for that. I mean, you have to be honest and open about how you're feeling and recognize that it is okay to feel that way. And so I love that with your husband, you were able to say, here's what I need you to say to me, right? Women.
While screaming and sobbing, but it worked.
Don't ever hope that your husband is just all of a sudden going to say the right thing, okay? Because it is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And getting through postpartum depression is most certainly a team effort, whether that be your spouse or that be a friend or that be a family member or whatever it may be. And you have got to find somebody that you, like Amelia, you can be open and honest and say, this is what I need from you. And that's what they're going to give you in return. And, it's not a selfish thing, and it doesn't make you weak. A lot, we tell our kids as teachers all the time, like, asking for help doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong, right? Yet as women, we can't do that. We think that asking for help means that we can't carry the burden and carry the weight all on our own. Well, while we were designed to carry children in our womb, we were not designed to carry the weight and the burden once we had done our job on our own. And so you've got to find people like you did with your husband and say, here's how I'm feeling, here's what I need. And I think, Amelia, I don't know about you, but when I was finally able to tell Wade and tell my mom and tell, my closest friends how I was really feeling, again, along with somebody telling me I was normal, just the relief that came from recognizing that I had somebody that wasn't going to judge me, but they were going just to listen to me. And so I don't know if you felt that way when you were able to tell your husband, kind of the things that you needed.
Well, and I can still, I'm like, listening to you and Kara talk, I feel like I've already cried a million tears at this point. I'm like, I need to go check my mascara before we started this.
Same.
But I'm sitting there listening, thinking about this too, because I can remember, again, you have people around you who go through this, and they talk about the love that they immediately feel. And I can even remember my mom telling me that when she saw me for the first time, she felt like she knew me forever. That was like a huge moment for her. And I did not have that with Dean. And to this day, he's 5 years old, and I look at him sometimes and I want to cry just thinking about like those moments that I missed with him those first couple months, because I was so emotional and going through so much. And I resented, I think, him as well as my husband for what I was having to experience at that time, what my body was going through and my mental state was going through. And I didn't get to connect with him. Now, I think I have a stronger bond with him, honestly, as a 5-year-old than my other children at any point we've had so far, just because of the fact that we've been through so much. You have all these different separate relationships with each of your kids. And I think I have a stronger bond with him because of that now. But those first couple of months, I didn't have a connection with him. And I didn't have that outpouring rush of love immediately after birth. And I felt so guilty for that for years. And I still struggle with that guilt of, I didn't lay in the hospital and stare at him in the hospital bed and think, oh my gosh, I created you, your husband, or your father and I created you, and this is wonderful. I mean, I knew, and in my brain, I knew that was a wonderful thing, and it was a powerful thing. But I laid there thinking, I have to feed you, and I'm in so much pain. And I have to get up and change your diaper, and it hurts. And I want to go to sleep, and you won't stop crying. And I didn't get that connection with him in the beginning. And no one around me said that. Everyone else is like, oh, you immediately give birth, and it's this wonderful thing of love, and you love this child, and your whole life has changed. And it wasn't like that for me. And that was really, really hard to feel that way and not have anyone be open and honest about that's a normal thing to feel.
Right. I mean, that was exactly how I felt, because I was like, okay, when is this over, this just crazy rush of love going to happen? And honestly, it never happened. Now, I mean, I'm telling you, and I know you're the same way, my love for that child grows every single day. And now I can't imagine my world without him. And I look forward to getting him out of bed. New mamas, one day you're going to look forward to it. I promise you're going to look forward to it. But it was never a, whoa, what was that feeling like? Oh, that's the love. No. It was definitely something that just, I think it's crazy too, because you think about just relationships in general, and, the love that you have for your spouse, the love that you have for friends grows as you get to know them. And just because we've carried this baby in our womb, I think that we think, oh, we're supposed to know them, but we don't. We have a bond with them, but we don't necessarily know them. And I think that is what has helped my love for Maverick grow.
One, I obviously became a little bit of a new person, and I think there was a lot of very good things. I think you never realize how selfish you are until you have a child. Oh. And I don't mean that to be be rude.
It's so true.
It's 100% true. You don't realize how selfish of a human being you actually are until you have a child. Mm-hmm. So in the good way, part of that, I feel like it did teach me a lot of things about, being patient and selfless and just in life in general. But I truly 100% had to learn to be very explicit in what I asked for from my husband and people around me. And I think that is how I meshed it, because I realized, like I said, 4 or 5 months in that I had lost who I was. And that was a big part of, I think, my depression, was that I had lost me. I didn't have that feel who I was anymore. And so my husband and I just decided, we had a couple different, things that every year we'd go on a trip by ourselves. And no matter how guilty that made me feel, he was going to pep talk me through it. And he knows even now, 5 years in, that's his role. He has to pep talk me to the airport or to the car, wherever we're going, and get me there. And make sure he keeps my mental state down, my guilt down, because mom guilt is the most powerful, raw, earth-shattering emotion I've ever felt in my life. And it is so hard to get pushed through. So I've had to learn to explicitly tell him what I need, and to tell people around me what I need, so I can still have a part of me. On Saturday, this is a perfect example, is on Saturday, this whole thing, we're all going through this pandemic together. And, we're stuck, as your mom, you're stuck in your house with your children all day long. And, my husband's working from home, but he's working all day long. So, it's just me and these 3 kids. And he, I think it was Friday, had worked a really long day. He's like, what do you need? Because he knows at this point, we're 5 years in, he knows, instead of coming up and saying, I have to change, he comes up and says, what do you need? Because I want to, we feel a little better. Yeah, we feel a little better now. So anyways, he goes, what do you need? And I said, tomorrow, I just want to go for a run by myself, with no children. I don't want to push anyone in a stroller. I don't want to have someone tagging along on a bike behind me. I just want to run by myself. So he's like, okay. So the next day he starts telling me, it's time to go for a run right now. And I kid you not, he's laughing, because my 3-year-old is holding onto my shirt and saying, no, Mom, I just need to be touching you right now. You can't go. Out of his mouth. And my 5-year-old says, I'm going to come with you, but I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. I was like, oh gosh. So of course, immediately I start feeling mom guilt, like, oh, I can't leave them right now. Like, this, look, what's they need me? And Joe was like, nope. And he grabs both of them, pushes them on the couch, and he's like, go, walk out the door. I got them. And so that right there is exactly what I learned to do, is to ask for and to tell him what I need to hear. Not just only to tell me to go do things on my own, but also to tell me to keep me mentally stable and confident that what I'm doing is the right thing. And that's been a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think, for me too, I realized that our kids need to be away from us. Like they
Yes. Oh
need
my
to
gosh,
be.
that's so hard to realize, but they do.
It is, yeah, especially when they're so little and they depend on you so much. So, Amelia, I know that this has been one of the longest episodes we've ever had. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what time it is, but thank you so much. I definitely want to have you and Kara back and get some other people in here because I know that people are asking about, that meshing that mamahood life with teacher life, and that is something we definitely want to address and talk about. But thank you for being so open and sharing your journey into mamahood because, again, I've always looked up to you and everything. You just have the best lessons. So thank you so much. And I'll definitely be having you back to address some of those other questions soon.
Yes, actually, Hope, I want to say one more thing that I just thought about that I was like, I have to make sure I share this.
Yes.
Because as a mom, I thought of this. When we were talking and chatting, one thing moms tend to do, or people tend to do, is always say, like, it's going to pass. It'll be fine. Everything goes by so quickly. You're going to remember this. You're going to wish for these days back. Don't say that to a mom going through depression. That is one of the most, I just think, hardest things to hear because you want to throw something. Because when you are living in the thick of it, tomorrow seems like forever. So when someone says to you, oh, at 4 months it'll get better, at 5 months it'll get better, that doesn't help.
No.
And it makes you feel worse because you're like, then I'm living for 4 months and 5 months or don't rush these days. You're not rushing these days. You're trying to get through. So I just always try to remind people, don't tell people that it's going to get, don't tell people to wish time away and it's going to get better. Give them their time.
Yeah, I mean, more along the lines of, it's not even, like you said, it's more of, what can I do for you? Are you okay?
Yes.
Like really asking those questions of just allowing them to talk. Like I know that's what I needed from you so much is just allowing me to even vent to you. And I didn't even really need anything in return. I didn't, and you were always so great about, I'm not trying to give you advice, but if you want it, ask me and I'll give it to you, but I'm not going to give it. You just were so great about listening. And honestly, that is what new moms need more than anything is they need for someone just to say, no, but how are you really doing? And allow that open, area for conversation just to say, you know what, I'm not doing good. And here's why, and this and that, rather than being told how they should be feeling and how they, like you said, how they shouldn't be feeling. Just allowing them to feel the way that they do, I think is one of the most important areas of support that we can give to new mamas for sure. So thank you. That is critical. And thank you so much for sharing that. That is pivotal in so many different aspects for all of us mamas who are trying to encourage. So thank you for that. But I will definitely be having you back. And thank you again for sharing your journey.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Bye, friend. All right, you guys. So I know this was the longest episode ever. I knew it would be because this is just, it is, like I said, a whole mood. Being a mom is a whole mood, and there is just so much to unpack. And the number one thing that I wanted to do tonight was to allow people to share their stories because as you heard from myself and Kara and from Amelia, the number one thing that we all needed was to know that it's normal. And so I hope that if anything, I know that we tonight didn't get to unpack a lot of how do you get out of this and what are strategies and how do you overcome it and how do you mesh being a mom and a teacher and all the things. And we will get to that. And those are definitely more episodes that's going to be coming along. But tonight, I just wanted to provide an area, a community where we truly normalized what it really is to journey into mamahood and that it is not easy and that we all struggle and we all have thoughts and we all have, ideas and we all feel very real, raw emotions, but that is okay. And I did love some of the strategies that the ladies gave tonight about exercise. I can't tell you the importance of that, even if it's just walking and getting away and getting some time for yourself, the importance of reaching out to people. And please don't ever, ever feel weak for reaching out. Honestly, as we tell our kids, that's what makes us strong. So if you are feeling some type of way, if you are feeling like you just don't even know how you're going to make it another day, I was there. But what allowed me to overcome and work through it was to first admit that I was struggling. And that's where you find your strength, is when you're able to admit your struggle. That's when I started finding my strength. But before I was able to admit that, I couldn't find my strength because I didn't even know what to look for. And so finding your community, and also mamas, I know that if you're here and you're watching this, that you have felt this. I think the number one thing that we can do is really reach out to others. New mamas, veteran mamas, all the mamas need reassurance. As you heard Kara say, now that she's moving on to parenting middle schoolers and that mom guilt and all the different thoughts of, am I doing this right? And am I giving them, taking screens away in time? And there are just so many layers to being a parent. And I think the number one thing that we can do is to be there for one another. And I don't mean be there giving advice. I mean be there to listen, because that is truly what moms who are struggling in whatever season of life they are in need, is someone to listen to them and someone to say, you're normal. So surround yourself with women who are going to be real and raw and honest with you, and just let you tell them how you are feeling. And don't ever be afraid to feel the way that you do. However you are feeling is completely validated and completely okay. And we as women should be allowed to feel those things as we journey through this life that we call mamahood, which is the best life. It is the most incredible thing. All of us know it, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. And in fact, honestly, the best things in life are always the hardest jobs. And so I hope, if anything, that you see that how you're feeling is normal, because I know that was such a game changer for me tonight, or for me during my journey, and I hope that you saw that tonight. So before we head out of here, first of all, thank you for being real in the comments. Thank you for sharing your stories in the comments. I'm going to go back and read those, because these are things that I need to be reminded of too, because I'm still very new to this journey. But a lot of you have reached out about the quarantine challenge that we launched last Friday. And it is something that Wade and I have been doing. We launched it with the Better Together community as a way to set habits and to set goals for ourselves as we are in this quarantine, because we do have time to really challenge ourselves to, whether it's be a little bit more organized, or organize our car, or organize our computer, or organize our kitchen, or read a new book, or learn something new, or whatever it is. We talk about the difference between habits and accomplishing goals. And so that was in last Friday's episode. But if you go to hopeandwaking.com/live, you can also download these beautiful tie-dye, because that is the rage right now, templates for this challenge. We would love for you to be a part. Use the hashtag quarantine challenge, because we're following it, and we love to comment on all the things that you guys are doing. And I love seeing all of your messages about you drinking water, or you going for a walk, or you organizing a kitchen drawer, or whatever it may be. You're doing amazing. So mamas, first of all, just in case nobody's told you today, because we're not always going to hear it from our kids, you are amazing. And as many people have told me, and as I'm coming to realize, there is no better mama in the world for your child than you. Write it down, say it to yourself daily, whatever you have to do until you start believing it. There is no better mama in the world for your child than you. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being amazing. And there's going to be more mama episodes to come, all about how we become a mama and a teacher, how we mesh those things together, how we find ourselves, self-care. I've got a lot of ideas, but if you have an idea for something you would like to see, let me know in the comments. But we will see you guys back on Wednesday night. Wade will be back with me. I've got some amazing things coming, so stay tuned. We're going to let you know who our guests are and the activities that we have coming. But thank you for being part of this community, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.